Welcome back to Coeur d'Alene Patriot Way, where we honor our nation's brave men and women who served overseas and are now continuing to serve here in our communities. Today we'll be interviewing Bailey, a Marine Corps veteran and a now owner of Gem State Firearms Training. We'll go over her experience through the breaking barriers in the military, line armor, firearms instructor, and then into her law enforcement background. Also, her business now in firearms training, where we will get an in-depth look at Idaho gun laws explained,
firearm regulations,
go into concealed carry and also open carry laws. So you're in for a treat on getting an in-depth look on how to get your concealed carry, the path to that, and also hear an inspiring story about a local veteran. Let's go. Thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Very excited to talk about the Idaho gun laws explained and your Gem State Firearms Training business. So we'll go into, if you don't mind, we'll start into kind of your Marine Corps, during joining the Marine Corps out of high school. What kind of inspired you to want to join the Marine Corps?
But the Marine Corps lives forever, and that means you live forever.
Yeah, well, from a young age, I had a very patriotic family, so grew up with my grandmother who raised me, and every time the few came on, it was, those are the best looking uniforms, and that's
Fact.
The military right there. That's how she always told me. So
There's no better.
yeah, so I knew, college would have been a difficult feat for me, so it was, hey, join the military so I can go to college and be able to do that.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
So you went into the military, and what was your initial MOS that you...
2111 small arms technician. So I actually walked into the recruiting office, which is kind of funny, and I joined my junior year of high school and told him I'm not going open contract, and he just kind of looked at me and he goes, well, I can offer you this, this, and this. And, well, of course, some of the things I didn't get. And so left was ordnance field. So the ordnance field, there's only 3 MOSs, which is count the rounds as an ammo tech.
Okay,
Combat engineer, which is what I really wanted, or to be a small arms technician, which I knew nothing about. And I had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
And of course, that's the one I ended up
That's the
getting
one I'll
assigned.
do. Yeah, that's awesome.
I got assigned that, 2 days before you graduate. Boot camp.
Oh,
right?
wow.
I had no idea. So they usually bring in a couple drill instructors or people to explain your MOSs. And so it was 2 days prior to getting out, and I looked around and I had no one there to tell me what a 2111 was. And all my DIs just laughed and they said, well, you'll find out when you get on the bus.
From now on, you will speak only when spoken.
Where's your school at?
Aberdeen Proving Grounds up in Maryland, the ordnance field for the Army. So there's a little Marine Corps detachment up there in northern Maryland. So it was pretty interesting when I arrived and I just saw, the big ordnance sign. And
So do you kind of go into that a little bit, interested in that, is which weapon systems were you mainly...
Everything that the Marine Corps shoots, anything that has a trigger on it. So
guns, lots of guns.
So you start off, of course, the first is M16. That's definitely the first that you get trained in. So you get into class, and each class period depends on what type of weapon you're going to get and work on for that day. So as an armor, it's not really like, the Army understands what an armor is, which is basically field stripping and putting a gun back together. Armor in the Marines is stripping it down to one piece of metal. It's
I always got
about
in trouble with the armor.
300 parts.
Did you? So there was I always could, and not everyone, people like armors and people that work in the armors are assigned to like take the weapons and they hand it in. Custodians, and they're you hand them your rifle after cleaning for 5 hours, and they say it's not. Do it again. It's not clean, and you're like, you didn't even look at it, but it was just one of those things.
How come you never slipped a $20 bill?
Oh, I can either confirm or deny.
It's not a bribe. Of course it's a bribe.
The master skater. So
yeah, so armory school was pretty fun. You learned everything from M16 to all the way up to mortars, howitzers, bore
Wow.
scoping them. One of the favorites are, of course, are like Mark 19s and
That's
the
like
three
the most
seer
Marine
system.
Corps weapon in the world, the Mark 19.
Well, I mean,
you know?
if you can have a
Shoot-
fully automatic grenade launcher, why not?
Why not? Yeah,
Like you don't need a grenade launcher. Yeah, but I want one.
yeah, Marine invented that.
Exactly.
And then from your Marine Corps school, and then can you go into kind of your first duty station, or just kind of briefly your time in and your experience? And
My first duty station was Camp Foster in Okinawa, which is pretty much the air wing where most women at the time when I was in, most women were attached to air wing units.
okay,
So I was there and I walked into the armory with, it was just, other Marines know that
Yeah.
armories usually have one armor. So
Right.
it was just myself and my corporal, and we were attached to another armory, which can't even remember what company that was, but there's only 3 of us in this compound.
Yeah.
And in Okinawa, they're all kind of like underground, like, so you kind of go down under.
Really?
In like this big old mound, you would go down. Anyhow, so I was stationed there and learned a lot of things, not all very positive, but some bad
Yeah.
habits you pick up,
Yeah.
especially day one. They go smoke break, and you
Right.
go outside for a
Yeah.
smoke break,
Man.
and you're like, I don't smoke, so
you have to smoke.
get
or
back in
dip.
there and go to work. And I was like, what are you? So
Smoking and
after
dipping, yes.
after 7 smoke breaks and I couldn't go out because I wasn't a smoker, better bet day 2 I had a pack of
Right.
cigarettes. But it was really fun. You'd wake up in the morning and pretty much have to be the first one in the armory to start the day to hand out the weapons for any type of ranges or any type of trainings that are going on. So usually your day started out about 3:30 in the morning and handed that out. And depending on what your job was, if it was teaching a class, teaching the use of firearms, or coaching, then you would leave and do that as well, and then come back in, and your day didn't end until the last weapon was
Yeah,
returned.
long days for
Yeah.
sure. So a lot of experience in the firearms and all the many different firearms, which is pretty impressive. And then going into instructing people in the military, and then transitioning outside of the Marine Corps. How was that when you came back in civilian life? I know you said you went into law enforcement.
Yeah, so getting out, of course, was a little difficult trying to transition into regular civilian world, and doing that, kind of try to figure out what you're going to do. So a couple odds and end jobs, and then I was actually recruited by our chief of police that was in our tribal police department.
Okay. Are you a part of a tribe?
Yes, from in Northern California called the Hopland Band and Pomo Indians.
Okay.
So the chief then, he was retired law enforcement, 30 years from Ohio, and he was the chief out there. So I was living with down in Southern California, and he made the trip down and said, hey, I'll send you to the Federal Law Enforcement Police Academy. And I said no for probably about 4 or 5 months, and then finally said, all right.
What caused you to want to finally get you across the...
I finally woke up, I think, and said, all right, let's go do something real with my life. So did that in 2002 and graduated from FLETC at our teaching in Mexico. So
Awesome.
very paramilitary. So you live there for
Like a highway
13, 14
patrol
weeks.
style.
Yeah, well, yeah, a little
Something
bit.
like that. I know nothing about the law
Highway
enforcement.
patrol. You just actually compared the highway patrol. It's kind of like comparing like Marines and Air Force training.
Really?
Yeah. So highway patrol and like county would be a little bit kind of like Marines, and
I was probably the lowest of the low in law enforcement. I won't say low, like bad thing, but I was juvenile corrections for many years in Central California.
Nice.
And you just reminded me of a statistic I saw not too long ago that statistically, I can speak, but statistically, Native Americans have a higher service rate than any other. Like more people in their one of the smaller demographics, more people sign up for the military than any other, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. I think it's opportunity. Right?
Opportunity.
You have less, I think, opportunity from, your lifestyle and growing up and stuff. It's, when I went into boot camp, I had a lot of, even throughout my military career, maybe you had the same experience, but a lot of people from the New Mexico, Arizona, Navajo tribe, and they go back a long time ago with their code talkers and, really were amazing for, our Marine Corps and what they've done.
What are some of the challenges, or I guess some of the, I don't say challenges, but experiences you learned doing law enforcement, doing on the tribe or in the...
Well, they kind of explain sometimes, like tribal police is, we have a lot of state law enforcement. So any type of county or city retired will go and work for a tribe, and that's because you can do both. You can still collect your state pension.
Oh, really? That's
and
really
then
double
also you double dip, right? So we had a lot of like retired law enforcement that were from city or county that would come over, and they would kind of explain it that what you do in 1 month on a reservation is probably equate to about 10 years of their duty. So
Really?
my first day was a homicide.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
second day, you go and arrest. I happened to arrest my own aunt and,
Really?
go through, and there's, it's,
Oh, my goodness.
it's pretty interesting. So 4 years there kind of took a toll.
Yeah, I bet 4 years. That's
Yeah.
a full Marine Corps enlistment. That's quite a bit of experience from military, learning every single weapon system that the Marine Corps could pull a trigger, which is a lot. The Marine Corps, everybody knows
There's
the
a
Marine
lot.
Corps. The Marine Corps has everything,
Right.
air, land, and sea type of stuff. And then law enforcement into bail bonds, and then now into your Gem State Firearms. I get this question a lot, and you're probably the best person to answer it, but explaining the Idaho laws, gun laws, the open carry, constitutional carry, and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, the good part is that the U.S. is trying to finally figure out that gun control isn't a great thing. But Idaho is one of the few states that took the constitutional carry to the full extent, which means that if you live here in Idaho, you're more than welcome to exercise your right to carry concealed or open carry. Doesn't matter if it's loaded, not loaded in your vehicle. If it's not, you just have your full right to be able to be armed here in Idaho. So that's what's really great about it. We offer what's called the Idaho Enhanced Concealed Carry, which is a little bit different. That was signed by our great back in 2017 to be able to have the greatest permit nationwide.
Yeah.
So by taking that and getting the enhanced permit, you take an 8-hour course, and now there are, I think it's right about 40 other states that your permit is good for, which means you can conceal carry in those states as well. So living so close to our wonderful border there in Washington, everybody wants to have a firearm there. And right now you have to have that enhanced to be able to carry a loaded firearm either on your person or your vehicle.
Yeah, and that's one of the services you provide, and
absolutely.
I was highly recommended. One of my favorite gun stores in town, Triple B Guns. They highly recommended you.
Love them.
They're great. Also Marine Corps veterans. And what are some other trainings that you provide other than the CCW?
Yeah, so I think we like to go back to basics sometimes. I think a lot of things get missed in just the basic fundamentals of shooting, and that's the big thing. And so we'll do private one-on-one trainings to make sure it's comfortable for everyone, which a lot of people like because they can ask all the questions and not feel like they're in a class environment and asking a dumb question or something that they don't know because it's a firearm. So we do private trainings. We have we created a women's group that is now I think we're into 14 months of having it called Brass and Sass. So it's
I'd sleep better with a gun.
Our women's shooting group, we meet once a month.
Okay.
And we're on a private range. We're contracted with the Coeur d'Alene Rifle and Pistol Club, so we get to use the private range for our trainings. Oh, nice. But other than that, we do what we call an AR education class. It's kind of really, some people say, like, what do you need to know about it? Well, we break it down for you instead of saying, hey, go to an armoury school. We actually
That's
show
awesome.
you how to completely take it apart.
I would like to sign up for that. I have a little bit of experience, with the AR platform, but you can never get enough training.
And there's so many different ones. There's the piston now instead of gas.
Which one would you recommend? A piston over gas?
Well, piston. You just show how much money you have, but
Maybe too expensive.
gas is more. The parts for gas are just so much easier. So if some wear and tear or break, you want to be able to have something that you can get cheap, or there's a lot of inventory. Piston is, you're going to pay a lot of money if you have to do any kind of replacement parts on that. So, yeah, so we do all kinds of things with the AR education class. We provide all the cleaning gear, teach you what to clean, how to clean, the wear and tear, handgun cleaning class we do. We're really excited about a couple events we have coming up, which is actually called the Refuse to be a Victim seminar. Not firearm related, but it helps prevent you from those situations. So that situational awareness
which is like in all my training, when I was in anti-terrorism school, situational awareness is more valuable almost than a firearm.
And I always want to look for ways to get more people more involved in doing that, because I think, especially being in Idaho, we all carry guns and we think that's going to be what's going to save us. And yes, it may, but getting out of those situations and preventing those situations is the most important.
Acting or not acting. And that is one thing I wanted to bring up. And I'm going to put all your classes and courses in the description of the video, so that people can find where, to access your courses. But at Triple B Guns, they had mentioned that you bring in a specialist in terms of the law. Is that something you still do?
Yeah. So I've teamed up with Stanley Mortensen, which is actually our Kootenai County District Attorney. Love working with Stanley. He's been here so many years of doing the law enforcement side as a sheriff deputy, and then went back to law school, and now he has moved up to our DA. I think it's so beneficial to have a prosecutor do the state laws in your class versus criminal. Not saying a criminal attorney isn't as good. It just gives you a different look at it from his point of view on the prosecution side. So
that's gold. That is gold.
Exactly.
That is so gold.
I don't think there's any
your
other
course
class
is worth just that.
And he puts on a great presentation. I mean, people, even if you only took one tidbit for mine, everyone listens to, his hour presentation. It's fantastic. So I think just the misconception of what does the Second Amendment do for you, and he kind of really breaks it down. I don't know if you knew, like in the military, we used to say Big Bird Barney style. So when we get out there, we're going to break it down for you, Big Bird Barney style. And
which I need.
That's what he would do. And he does that. So we love teaming up with him and having him come out. So
yeah, well, excited to check out your course, and people are going to get a lot of value out of that. And it's all the experience from the military, all the time working, as a federal law enforcement agent for the tribe, and now teaching firearms. It's it's a very important part of our community, because I do think a lot of people are complacent, and to get this, they might not think that they need this training, but I in my opinion, it's super vital.
Right. It is. I think, a lot of people around here are kind of, born and raised with firearms.
Yeah.
If it's a rifle that you got at 3 years old to, out hunting all the time with, your parents, your dad, or whomever, you kind of say you know a lot about firearms, and you may with rifles, but it's always very different. As you may know, that you can always have a rifleman, but you put a handgun in their hand and they don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And,
I do need confession. Some handgun training.
Yeah. So sometimes you'd see Marines walking around with an expert rifle and a pizza box over there for.
I'm not gonna say that was me.
I barely qualified on the handgun range, so pistol range. But I think it's so much more important because we carry handguns. I think everyone's got a handgun somewhere.
You always take a shower with a pistol.
For protection, most people here in Idaho, and just actually understanding the simple parts of how it functions to, do you have a safety on it or not, and what's your trigger pull and how you should store it. And we can go on and on about just kind of learning those things, and it's all training is vital. I don't have all the answers, but, hopefully I can build a structure for a little bit more of an understanding of how to handle firearms and safely.
That's great. Whenever people come into your class, do you help them, maybe if they need help choosing a firearm, something that's kind of ergonomic, or any recommendations like that? Or
so I always say, I won't tell you what firearm to carry, what caliber to carry, or how to carry it, because everyone's everyone's different, and I'm not going to be there to save your life. So what you choose for you is going to be for you, but I will help you make that choice by explaining the function, the functionality of the firearm. And no caliber is better than the other. The caliber that's right for you is going to be right.
I wouldn't want to get shot by a 22.
Right. I mean, we shoot to stop the threat, right?
Right.
So, and most self-defense happens within 7 yards. So
Wow.
within that 7 yards, you're talking about 2 to 3 feet. That is almost 90 percentile of using a firearm. So 2 to 3 feet. Do I care if it's a 22 versus a 10 mil? Well, a 22, I can pull off a whole mag of 10 versus,
Right.
a recoil of a, 40, 45, 10. Sure, one's going to do more damage, but which one are you going to be more confident
Right.
and quicker in? So it's to each his own, whichever. If you like Glocks like you do, it's easier to wash them. You just stick them in the dishwasher when you're done.
Yeah.
But, if you want to feel a real gun, let me know.
Are you supposed to wash a Glock? I thought I just...
No, they don't. No, they don't. If they don't work, you just put them and throw them in the mud and go grab another one.
Yeah, someday when I grow up, I'll have a more of a higher end pistol.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tough habit to get into because they cost a lot. So sometimes it's like, do I get a tattoo or do I get a new gun? Which one do I do?
Yeah.
They're about the same price.
Exactly. They're both equally addicting.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I want to encourage everyone to go to your platform. I'll put on your social media, your website, and schedule classes because I know they fill up fast from other people telling me. And thank you for your service and continuing to educate and teach people in our community to be protected. And like you said before, you're not going to be there to help people save their life, but you are going to give them the training and the situational awareness. So hopefully they're not in that situation.
Absolutely.
And go home safe. So thank you for coming on.
Great. Thanks for having me.